What's up everyone, and welcome back to another Path of Exile 2 market analysis video. So before we get started with the analysis for today, I want to recommend that you check out the Discord server in the video description, because we got a lot of explanation there and also some systems that might make you a lot of profit in the game. So for example, we have the PO Economics fund where you can invest your divines into. We'll reinvest them for you, we'll trade with them, and then you can withdraw at a profit. If you are interested in any of that stuff, check out the Discord server and read through the different info channels and you'll be all good to go. So let's get started with today's analysis. So today's analysis revolves around omens again, because omens are weirdly still at an all-time high. But as I said yesterday, if we reflect on the video from yesterday, we can already see that our predictions are coming true. The omens are severely overvalued. They are at their absolute max, especially the omen of Sinistral Null and the omen of Sinistral Erasure. So both of these two omens will severely depreciate in price further. They have already depreciated and they will depreciate further. The only omen where we really have any room to make any trades, to invest a bit, to, I don't know, like do any of the stuff that we're usually doing with it, is the omen of Dextral Null and the omen of Dextral Erasure. And that is because these two omens are, in comparison to all of the other omens, at their relative low. So that is of course because we had the patch that changed the drop rate of these omens and that made them less rare. So obviously their price depreciated from that, but also because these omens are thought to be less valuable now because of the patch, right? So it's not only that these omens are less valuable because they are dropping less, but also because people simply perceive them as less valuable. So that's why these omens, or probably why these omens didn't increase as much in price as the other omens might did. So I did some research and I also asked a lot of people on their opinion on what is happening right now. And the situation is either that there's some inside info that has been leaked from GGG on a new patch that might change omens completely, and that will make the prices for omens go absolutely through the roof, or simply have them be way more valuable for crafting. So there's a lot of Chinese guilds that have bought a lot of omens and that are even RMTing just to buy even more omens. So that is why the prices, or one of the reasons why the prices could be soaring this high. Then another theory is that omens, since we have had the changes to the breach rings, are now way more valuable because you can craft more, right? The crafting is more efficient, so the omens are more valuable. But I personally believe that because we had such a huge increase, we had a 40% increase in value in less than 24 hours, there's only one reason why that could be. And that is because big investors, big Chinese guilds, are thinking, okay, we need all of these omens because they're going to be severely increasing in value, and we need to buy now, otherwise they will be unaffordable. So that's why these omens are something that you absolutely do not want to keep right now. If you have one, sell it. Even if you sell at not a price that is optimal, like if you have to sell 5-1 for the omen of Sinistral Null, do it now, because in the next 24 hours or in the next 2 days, these omens, if there's no news, because we had this inside info leak, right? If there's no news on anything that could severely change these values and make them go even higher, these prices will absolutely go to the ground. So if you invest anything into an omen of Sinistral Null, or even if you just do some lighthearted trading with it, like we're doing with the omen of Dextral Null right now, you will absolutely, or very likely, lose all of your money in this. You will buy a shit ton of these omens at a price that is way too high for the drop rate of these omens, and your value or your stash value will go to the ground and you will have nothing left. So don't even think about doing anything with these omens right now if they don't depreciate in price, right? You can see these buy offers, which are still from before these omens soared so high in prices. And these buy offers are what I expect these omens to be at in a couple of days. And that's 3 to 1. So that's basically half of what we got right now. So you might lose half of whatever you invest into this. So don't even think about it. Don't go ahead and wait for the news if you are even interested in that right now. So that's everything that you need to know about the state of omens for today. We have quite a few other things that I want to discuss, especially when we are looking at the data. By the way, this data also reinforces that the omens are also going to depreciate severely in value, because the only reason why an omen usually soars so high in value or has such a big value increase is because it had a value decrease before. And you cannot just go from a period where there's no value, severe value increases or severe value decreases to an absolute increase of 40%. That's not something that naturally happens or something where there's any opportunity to make any profit at all, right? So this is artificial. This is created by maybe a few guilds, maybe some insider info, some outside influence that has nothing to do with actual market prediction. So yeah, that's what we can perceive also from the data. And I wanted to discuss the currencies, and what's happening with currencies right now is very interesting. So the mirror, quite unusual for it, has increased for 2 to 3 days in value. And I personally believe that that's because the mirror is simply such a valuable currency in a time where everything else is losing value. And this is a reflection on how the market will probably lose a lot of value in the coming days, and the mirror being the only currency that won't really lose that much value or might even increase in relative value. But it's not a sure investment, because the mirror is kind of a currency that nobody really buys or sells for the intention that it was actually made for. It's just a placeholder for trading huge amounts of divines or maybe keeping value. Like, it's just an artificial way on how GGG made an item where you can basically trade your whole stash for, right? And you can keep your whole stash in one single currency item. It's just this great drop for someone to expect if they play 10,000 hours, right? And then they get this insane drop, and it's the best moment they had ever in that game. So the mirror is nothing that you really use to mirror an item. Maybe in POE1 that was a thing, but not in POE2. POE2 is simply not a game where that is viable, especially since the leagues are littered with these profit strategies that do not revolve about any of the item trading and are basically just about how to make the market depreciate in value and yourself appreciate in value, right? So that your value increases and the market value decreases. Because if the market value decreases, that means there's opportunities for you to make a ton of profit. So that's how POE2 is right now. So the mirror is not a solid investment because it's not something that people use. Everything else people use, but the mirror they don't use. So you can theoretically, and I also do that, or the fund also does that, flip the mirror, maybe short time invest into it, but right now it's still not a safe investment, even though you might come to that conclusion, because the mirror is the only thing that's increasing that much while everything is going to be dropping. So yeah, that's about the mirror. We also got two different currencies that are, or three different currency graphs that I really want to discuss with you guys, especially because there were a lot of you people asking questions, and I really appreciate you guys asking questions. If you have any, go ahead and go to the Discord channel and ask in the Ask Me PO Economics questions Discord channel, and I will be sure to respond. So we got a few questions on how the values in these graphs are really determined, and how they make sense, even though certain graphs are valued in comparison to currencies that others are not. So all of the omens are graphed in relative value to divines. So this is the value, for example, if you look at this is the value increase for the 9th of June in comparison to divines, right? This is always trading against divines. So if you look at POE, that would be I have divine and I want Omen of Sinister or Null, and the reverse, and then the average of these two values. So this value, and then the average. And that is these graphs, and then their percentage increase. In this graph, it's also the cumulative increase over time. So this is how volatile a currency is. If it's low, right down here, it's very volatile. So the mirror, let me see, the mirror is the most or second most volatile. For a long time, it was also the most volatile currency, right here, for example. But yeah, every currency that is not is up here, and it's not that volatile. It's continuously increasing in value, and that would be, for example, the Chaos Orb. And then we got three different currencies that are not compared to divines, but that are valued compared to exalted orbs, because we want to see also if these values decrease, right? That it could be that the divine is simply more rare, right? That the GGG has made the divine more rare, or the strategies have shifted from strategies that are generating divines, generating omens instead of divines, or generating some other items instead of divines, right? It's not mapping, it's not anything that really drops a lot of currency itself. And then the divine depreciates in its total volume, and then the relative amount to omens could also increase or decrease from that, right? So we want to see if there is any connection between that, and if the market has been influenced by that. And we can do that by comparing the divine to the exalted orb, because we can measure from there if the divine is simply less, if there's simply less of the divine or more of the divine right now. So it's kind of like a two-factor authentication for our prediction, so we are absolutely sure. And then we have the Chaos Orb, which is because we are either keeping everything in divine or in Chaos Orbs, right? And Chaos, because these two currencies have the most buying power inside the game, because nobody will buy one omen for another omen, or one omen for fracture orbs, or one omen for I don't know, annulment orbs. They will always buy for either exalted, chaos, or divine. So we want the two graphs, chaos and divine, relative to exalted orb. And from there we can determine which of these two graphs is the most stable. And we can do that in the context of all the other graphs, because this is a relative value increase. This is not the total value. It's just the value increase and how consistent it is, if it has been. And if the value increase has been consistent for the Chaos Orb and has been inconsistent for the Omen of Dextral Annulment, for example, that means that the relation between divines and the Omen of Dextral Annul has been worse than the relation between Chaos Orbs and the Exalted. And because the Exalted and the Chaos Orbs are also both related to the Omen of Dextral Null and not just the Divine, that means that makes sense, in the sense that we can compare these two graphs and that this table is accurate. right? Because if the value for exalted to this omen increases, then also the value for divine to that omen increases, or the value for chaos to that omen increases. And divine is simply the currency where these trades are the most advantageous for any of the omens, and that's why we are using divines. So that's some background info on that, and I hope I explained it in some kind of understandable way, because when I explained it in Discord to the people that asked, it took a long time for them to really get what we are trying to get from this data and how this table works. But in the end, they got it, and I hope you guys also understand these graphs a bit better now. So, of course, if I haven't mentioned it yet, right, I mention this every time, a million times, the chaos is the absolute best currency to retain long-term value. And if you want to retain the long-term value of your stash, of your personal stash, if you're not doing any of the short-term trading, put everything that you got into chaos orbs and you'll be absolutely fine. So lastly, the only thing left that I got for you guys is that I have just announced a membership in our Discord channel, where if you look at the membership tab, you can see all the perks that we offer for the different membership tiers. We got the tier 1 tier, we got the tier 2 tier, and from these different tiers you get a lot of boons, and they really help us on keeping these kind of systems alive. Because if you look if you look at the POE2 microtransactions, you will quickly see that one guild slot, for example, costs us €1, and one stash tab costs us €20. And when you buy so many stash tabs, especially when we look at my personal stash, where I'm keeping a lot of the currency, you can see that we need a lot of these, right? We are buying a lot of these. I am buying a lot of these. So any support that you can provide is great, and that's why I'm setting up this membership, so we can buy even more stash tabs. That's why we can do some other stuff. For example, the website development also costs a bit sometimes. So yeah, that's why we have this membership. If you are interested, check that out. Of course, this is not necessary. The bank still works for you, even if you are not a member. And also you get access to a lot of stuff from simply being in the Discord, even if you are not a member. This is just for people who want to support the system and who are really invested into what we're doing and who like what we're doing and who want to keep this alive, and this will make that possible in the long term. So I want to thank you very much for watching this video until now, because it's kind of a longer video today, I think. And if you watch to the end, of course, you are a very small percentile of the total people that are watching these videos. So you are especially dear to my heart. So I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. I'm out.